So this is the part of my business which is my favorite. This is a success story interview, and we've got a very special guest tonight, Mr. Terrance Slade, that just closed a deal. And we're speaking of Terrance tonight. Terrance, are you on the line?
I'm here.
And welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight, Terrance.
No, thank you for the invite.
And Terrance, I've got a few slides with some questions on them just to help guide the conversation tonight. Terrance and I spoke recently, and he's got really a cool deal we're going to be talking about. And Terrance, I want you to feel free to answer any of the questions you feel like. Don't answer any of the questions you don't feel like. You're not going to hurt my feelings. And and if you feel like you want to ad lib on anything, by all means, feel free to do that. I just really appreciate you sharing your story with the apprentices here tonight.
No problem.
And let's start off. There's a picture of the young man right there. Terrance lives in Atlanta, Georgia. And let me tell you a little bit about this, what we're talking about tonight. He bought a fourplex in Atlanta, and we're talking about that deal. This is a really interesting deal. He bought it for $8,000. Fourplex, $8,000. Now, it was vacant. It is vacant. So he bought this property, got his fourplex, and but here's the even cool part. Well, first let me say this. He basically implemented the peas in a pod strategy that you guys learn about at the boot camp and on the online trainings. But he has this property under contract to sell for $225,000. Now, did I get that right, Terrance? Are those the right numbers? Did I put those correctly on the slide?
Might be hard to believe those are actually the right numbers.
No, those are the right numbers. This is me knocking on wood. We're knocking on wood because he does in fact own the fourplex, but we're on pins and needles for he's looking to flip the contract, flip the property. So I want to hear all about that. So, Terrance, it's way of kind of an intro. I know people be interested in your background. So would you mind just kind of sharing what is your background with regards to real estate? What prompted you to get started with apartments or real estate in general? How long have you been involved, and what training have you received?
Well, been in real estate probably since about 2002, where pretty much was just a typical investor out there trying to, flip a house here and there and trying to really just learn the game of real estate. Didn't really want to become an agent, so I was just trying to learn the game of real estate and got into it. Actually got pretty successful at flipping houses, and then we all know about what happened around 2007, late 2007, early 2008 with the economic downturn, and that hurt, and it just basically just crushed the business. Obviously banks weren't lending, and actually most of them were actually going out of business, which I actually didn't even know was even possible. But banks were actually failing all over the place, and I realized I couldn't make any more money in real estate at that time. For a period of several years there, wasn't doing anything, couldn't flip anything, and actually ended up having to get a job. So the whole time I kind of use it as a learning experience where I just thought, well, I said I needed a passive income. And I've heard people in real estate talk about passive income for years, and I just never really took it truly to heart until the economy fell apart, and I realized, that passive income would really be nice right about now. So I kind of made the determination, as, things were kind of turning back around and banks are starting to slowly get back around to the lending, and I can get back into flipping houses. I've heard about Lance's program, and I'd always been interested in owning an apartment, and I just figured, I said, now's as good a time as any to get involved, and I got involved and came out to one of Lance's seminars, and got a chance to meet him and get a signed autograph book and go through the whole program with you.
You came to Charlotte, if I recall, didn't you, Terrance?
Yep, it was in Charlotte, correct.
All right. So you were doing flipping houses, went through the pain of the Great Recession. I don't know what was great about it, but but you had your ambitions on wanting to get passive income. All right, very good. That's actually that what led me into it. So let's start off here. I got a picture of the property that Terrance sits, and you'll see there's several buildings in here, and they're all boarded up, vacant, and Terrance ended up buying one of these fourplex. Is it one of the ones showing here on I think there are 6 buildings, as I recall, correct?
That is correct. Actually, that one right there on the right. Actually, a total of 8 buildings in this. Yeah, that one right there on the right.
All right. So there's the property, for those of you who want to see the property. But let's talk about the deal. Let's talk about this. I know to begin with, Terrance, so if you wouldn't mind sharing, how did you find this property? What was the situation other than it being vacant? What was the opportunity, and how did you go about pursuing it?
We actually had, me and my partner had decided there was an area that we thought would be a great area to kind of go through. So we pulled up a listing, actually using software here, RealQuest, and used that software to locate the apartments in that little pocket of areas that we wanted to kind of target. Drove around through all of these and figured this would actually be one of the better ones to actually go target. And we actually targeted it with the intentions, at least, from first glance, that we would like to get it, hopefully pick it up really inexpensive, rehab it, and rent it out. And unfortunately, when we got in the process of trying to work through the deal, we realized that it was 8 buildings, and for some apparent reason, somehow there were 3 different owners. One person owned one building, one person owned one building, and one person owned the other 6. So it was like, okay, so we entered into the project where we figured, like I said, we'd use the peas in the pod scenario, or hopefully to take over the whole thing. And so we went in with the idea that we would approach the two owners that owned one building first, and before we attempted to even go after the other guy who owned the other 6. Luckily, we got the other 2 under contract. We did actually ended up closing on one, and kind of hate to say it, but the guy kind of fell asleep at the wheel, and he lost it to a tax sale, and I was able to go to redeem his taxes for $8,000. And due to the fact that he had an expired security deed, I actually ended up becoming the actual owner of the property just by acquiring the actual taxes. So it was kind of almost a home run swing all at once, and we found a buyer. Well, in the process of negotiating.
Let me pause there. So this was, for everyone, let me recap it, and Terrance, you make sure I'm correct on this. Basically, we've got 8 buildings. This is a peas in a pod scenario. We've got different owners of these 8 fourplexes. One owner owns 6, one owner owns 1, another owner owns 1, and they were looking to actually acquire all of the buildings through what we call the dominated profit strategy, which is the peas in a pod variation. And they ended up buying one of the properties through basically buying the delinquent taxes. Is that all correct?
Yes.
All right. Now let's get the next slide up. So let's talk about the numbers. What was your purchase price, and how was the negotiation with the seller? Well, you kind of shared that. There wasn't much of a negotiation. Did you start talking with the seller at first, or did you go straight for the tax lien?
Actually, I started talking with the seller, or who I thought the seller was, and then the seller kind of went MIA. And then we unfortunately, we ended up running title to see if he even owned it. Ran the title to it and found out that he had lost it at through a tax sale, and his security deed on the property had expired. So we went after the guy who had bought it from the tax sale.
Oh, so you bought it from the person who had bought the tax lien, is that right?
Correct.
Ah, okay. Okay, got it. How did you arrive at the price of $8,000? How did that negotiation proceed?
Well, in the state of Georgia, it's when they buy a tax, they have the right to pay the back taxes plus earn up to 20% on the on anyone redeeming the taxes. So essentially, it just kind of worked out that apparently the guy didn't actually owe that much, and actually it was more like 10,000, and actually I negotiated him down to 8.
Oh, sweet! That's even better. That's even better. Good job. Good job on that, Terrance. So now let's get into your buyer. So now you've got, so you own the property. In this case, you bought the property outright. You have title. So now we're talking about this. You've got a buyer. How did you find your buyer? I kind of already shared what the sales price is, but how was that negotiation with the buyer? Tell everyone how this came to be. This is a fascinating story.
Well, it ended up coming to be because when we were trying to acquire the other 6, or go under contract with the guy who owned the other 6, his price was just way too absorbent, more than what the property was truly worth, in our opinion. And we didn't feel that, honestly, we could make that money back plus renovate it and make any money over time in doing it. So we, my partner had reached out to a developer that just so happened we knew of a developer. My partner reached out to the developer and asked him if he wanted to, if this was a property that he would be interested in, and we laid out the whole plan for him of actually telling him, what we envisioned what could go into this property based on the current zoning, and he was like, okay, and that took a little bit of negotiating. I mean, initially we wanted more money, but long story short, we negotiated to roughly about a $1.6 million purchase between all the sellers. So, which of that pie, that's where we get our 225.
So you had to bring the whole deal together as a group. The developer wants is all or nothing. He wants all or nothing of those fourplexes, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty nice negotiation. So you basically had to spearhead and get, I guess in this case, 2 other parties together, the one owner that has 1 building and the other owner that had 6 buildings. And hey, you guys want to sell? Here's your opportunity. Great job, Terrance.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's fantastic. So we're sitting here on pins and needles. Knock on wood. I'm going to do it again.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I want everybody listening to be knocking on wood right now for Terrance. But they're under contract, waiting for a closing to occur for his windfall. So, you've got this first small apartment deal under your belt. So what's next for your real estate business, Terrance, besides closing?
Well, like I said, as you said, knocking on wood there. God willing, as soon as we close that deal, the plan for us is to 1031 that money that we would have gotten. So instead of taking it and putting it in our pocket and having a great time with it, the ideal for us is to take it, put it into a 1031, and move it into another property. And using another one of your techniques is we've been marketing for other apartments. So the ideal is hopefully that we find another apartment ideal or apartment that comes along the way that we can hopefully dump that money into and get that residual income, that passive income that we're hoping for.
That's a great idea. Now, for everyone listening, when Terrance refers to the 1031 exchange, that's the provision in the IRS code. It's called Section 1031, where when you sell a piece of real estate, in this case, Terrance selling this fourplex, the profit they receive, which will be $197,000, that's a taxable event. But unless you take that $197,000, or you take the full $225, but the $197,000 is taxable, if you use that in the purchase of another piece of real estate within 6 months, you got to do it within 6 months, you pay no taxes, which is a beautiful thing, and you get the full benefit. Terrance could use that money as down payment on a larger property and have his passive income, which was the goal all along. So beautiful strategy. One of the great tax benefits afforded us in real estate. All right, so I've got one more question, Terrance, and you've got this. Bought your first small apartment deal, negotiations, you had to work through the challenges to get there. if people that are watching this, listening to this, and some of them most of them are yet to get their first deal done. So the question I would ask, from your heart, if there was one thing you were going to share, what is the single most important thing you learned in this process?
I would easily say it would really have to be is sticking to it. It's one of those games where it can be a numbers game, and you can get discouraged really quick and really easy, and it's one of those things that you just kind of got to keep chugging along at it, and it will happen for you. If you believe it will happen for you.
I love it. That's what I would call persistence. Another way, I think persistence.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because you had some challenges along the way, and I imagine you had some times where you were thinking, this is not going to happen. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. There's been several events in this deal that's been quite challenging, and I mean, this deal has probably fallen apart probably at least 3 times at minimum.
And I bet, is it safe to say it was you that put it back together to keep it on the track?
Oh, absolutely. I probably have the most to gain out of this deal. And in my personal opinion, because the other guy who owns the other 6 buildings, he's already well off.
Yeah. I think that's great advice. And I tell you, that's probably, when I ask this question to everyone that we interview, Terrance, when they've done their first deal, the same question I just submitted to you. And the most common answer when I ask this question is the same one you gave, is persistence. It's sticking with it when it seems like, it's not going to happen. But you just step in, figure out, you make it happen. You just got to believe in it, which is your words. You got to believe in it and just stick to it. So, man, I'm so proud of you, so proud for you, so excited for you. And again, I'm going to knock on wood.
Thank you.
So you get into that big, those big checks and get yourself into another deal. So congratulations, Terrance.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I may be scouring through your pages to find one of those deals, just to let you know.
Well, great. No, that's why I love doing this. I love doing this. When you came to the boot camp, seeing you, take action like that. All the praise goes to you. You did this, and don't forget that you did this, Terrance. So just great job.